First of all, I just want to thank everyone who's showing up. Thank you. I'm going to give a lot of information, a little bit of background of who I am and how I can help you guys. So in the chat, if you guys give me like a little bit of feedback along the way, if you give me a few questions, I work so much better under questions. Today, we're going to do a few things. We're going to explore how you can start controlling more your thoughts, more your focus. We're going to talk about how when you focus on things that's interconnected to your feeling state, and how you can, if you find yourself in a state where you're getting a little bit stuck and it's not helpful for you, how you can shift it pretty quickly. And if you guys have questions along the way, well, we'll kind of, go where I need to help you guys the most. So here we go. So just a tiny bit about me. As I said before, I have a wellness clinic and I help people with a lot of things, mainly to do with stress, anxiety. It's often to do with their thinking, their mindset, and how to help people and teach people new strategies, ways of thinking and being, so we stop getting so stuck. We often cause ourselves, we get knotted in our own mind, so to speak. And it's about helping people with strategies. That is real simple. We get a really cool success rate with helping people. That's probably all you need to know. I know when I go on these webinars and there's all this like blah, 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 I kind of find it a little bit boring. I'm like, get to the information. What can be helpful? So I want to start with probably the most important thing is the body and mind are interconnected. Okay, so your feeling state, the way that you're feeling right now is interconnected to how you're holding yourself in the body. So just take a moment and notice how you're feeling in your body as you're watching this. Now, some of you may be watching this and you may have a few other browsers, and you may be Facebook, and you may be, and your attention may be scattered. And as a result, you maybe have certain tension patterns in your body. And some of you may be like sitting, you may be more relaxed in your body. You kind of got a big screen, or you got your computer, your laptop, or your phone, or whatever, however you're watching this. And you may be in a different position in your body, and therefore you'll be thinking differently. If you guys have ever been students, and I know you all are, especially because that's kind of what you're doing, right? Amazes me, like before people go into exams, I used to be at uni, and people would like take like the semester's work of books, and they'd be like outside, and they'd be like flipping through the pages and trying to do a last minute scan. And everyone's got their own strategies. That's fine. What I would do is I would do the opposite, because obviously your brain works better when you're not in stress, right? We'll come back to that, because a lot of people say, I work really good under stress. We can come back to that if we need to. But what happens is before the exam, I would wait outside rather than being in the environment with everyone stressing. And then when I'd go into the exam, when everyone had the 10 minutes of reading and everyone trying like mark with their fingernail on the questions, which one, so they could like skip 10 minutes extra. What I'd do is as the exam started, I just close my eyes and like go into like a small meditation just for a few minutes, because it put my body, my physiology into a different state, and then it accessed a different kind of experience in my brain. Because we all know, like, if you're kind of in that fight or flight response, how effective can you be? So what I'm asking you to do right now is just notice how you're feeling in your body. Okay. So also on that note, I want to kind of take that even further. So just what I want you doing is I just want you putting your head down and your shoulders down. Just do it with me and just kind of really put yourself down like this in this body. And then what I want you to do is I want you to try and be happy as you can when your body's like this. I really try and lift your energy and be happy. And then notice what happens in your experience. Okay. And now what I want you to do is I want you just to open your body and like stretch your arms up, lift your whole body up and your head up, really, like, because as it changes your spine, you like take a breath, open your body up like this. Everyone do it while you're watching, and then notice what happens, how it starts changing the way you feel. As you're doing this, try and be sad. Try and be angry. I always get clients when they first meet them, I say, go like this and try and be angry. They can't. And then what happens is we go into this state. To do anger, I got to lock my jaw up, put my head forward, roll my spine, pull my body into this space, and then I can be angry. Do it now. Go into that. See if you can feel anger. Now see if you can hold on to that, but move your body like that, and you'll notice it changes. And so the point that I'm making is really simple. As you change your physiology, your body, you'll access a different experience of thinking and a range of thought. So we're being bombarded with fear, and there's stuff in the media, and it's a scary time for a lot of people, and we're constantly surrounding with ourselves in our inner environment with thoughts and experiences, and without even knowing it, we're slowly building up this tension. So a lot of people, when they're feeling crappy, they'll go for a run, or they'll have a cold shower, or they'll do some form of exercise, because that moving the body this way changes your pattern, and it can help change the way that you feel. So just before I continue, does someone or a few people just want to write a few comments about if you kind of experienced that, and what did you notice change as you changed your body? If you have any questions about that. There's a bit of a delay, so I'm going to talk for a little bit more, but please write a few things. That's really helpful. So what happens is you may find that you're in a situation and you're getting to a state and you're like consumed with what's going on, and you may be in a state of worry. And you're going, okay, what do I do? And you're just feeling really tense in your body. You may have getting some like tension. You notice your breath. See, when you're holding yourself in this state, it's also going to be affecting your breath. And so you're going to be having less range of motion in your ribs, and it's going to be in a restricted. So once again, as your body gets restricted, your thinking, your thought space is going to be a little bit restricted. And so that is now going to kind of narrow your experience in the world. So what we want to do is we want to help you be able to open up your world, because in the last global recession, because that's probably what we're heading for, another one, the last global recession, some of the biggest companies were formed, right? Uber was formed then, Airbnb was formed then, some of the biggest things. And this always happens in great times of massive change. Some of the biggest possibilities emerge. And we would like you guys to be people who are more likely to be the successful ones. Now, you can't do that if you're in reactivity. So if your body gets stuck into this pattern, you're less likely to be able to see the possibilities because you're in survival mode. See, we're either going to be in survival mode where there's just enough energy in our body just to make it by, or just to make sure we're safe. And then we go into coping, which is enough energy just to get by in day to day. And that's how most people live their life. For years and years, it's just enough energy to make it through day by day. And if you have a little bit more energy, you can go into thriving mode. And that's what I want for you guys. So the first thing to start doing is do a check-in quite a few times every day. How am I holding myself in my body? Where is my energy? Is it stuck? Is it locked? Is it fixated? And then also notice, as your energy and the way you're holding your body is in a certain state, it'll also be connected to a certain type of thought process or thinking range. You can think of it like a channel remote. Who's a remote? Like, right? And so different channel, different station, different effect. So you change it, boom, a whole different outcome. Okay, there's a few questions. Let's have a read, and then we're going to carry on. Alina, definitely makes sense. Reminds me of how smiling even a bit makes you feel a bit better when you're down. Amazing. There was a study done, and they had people who were clinically depressed, and they got these people smiling in a mirror every day for 10 minutes. And I can't remember the percentage, but after a period of time, I think it was a couple of weeks, I read the study a long time ago. What happened is these people started feeling so much better. Not only to start feeling better, a lot of them would completely come off their medication. Just from smiling and looking at themselves smiling completely change their physiology. Because it does. When you smile, it starts releasing chemicals, right, in your brain. You start feeling different in your body. And so it's a huge thing. There was a person who was quadriplegic. And so what happens is obviously can't move his limbs. And he learned to change his state just by using the facial expression muscles, because by doing that, smiling and being angry and whatever we can still access the physiology and make these changes. So that's a wonderful point. Thank you. That's really cool. And Lindsay wrote, I have definitely found myself feeling very tense lately. Cool to remember to change posture. Yeah, totally. It's a simple thing to do. I had a person once, going back to the angry example, and she came into my clinic, and I'm so angry about this, and I'm so angry about what my partner did to me, and I'm angry about this, and I'm about to lose my job because I'm angry. And it was really funny. So she's just, I can't break out of it. And so we just did that simple thing, right? And we just got her to hold it for a few seconds. I said, okay, now, what was this you're angry about? And she kind of goes, it was the funniest thing, because it was like she knew she was angry. She went to experience it and it wasn't there. Naturally, she went back to it because she wanted to be in the story. See, there's what's really going on and there's a story of what's going on. And most of the time, what causes us so much pain in life is the stories that we keep playing out in our minds. See, it's not the situation that's determining your well-being, how happy you are right now. It's the story that we talk about it. It's the meaning that we give what's happening. Some of you will, the situation depends on where you are in the world and what's happening to you. This could be a disaster. It's a time for a new beginning. Sometimes it's a time for you, a time to focus on things that you haven't previously had time. It's what's in your focus and what meaning are you giving it. I like give this example, like you have these times of life and you may have gone through a really rough patch, and you may look about it, that was the worst time in my life. That just really, or you could say that was the teaching, that was the lessons in life. Or you could say that part of life was preparing me for what's next to come. Imagine if what we are in right now is preparing us for what's to come. That's a very different experience, and you'll feel very differently to the people who kind of go, oh, well, right now is the beginning of the end. Oh, we've just lost our freedom. If you kind of think like that, you're less likely to experience joy right now in the moment, and then you're more likely to be in tension, and then you're more likely to hold on to your breath, and then you see how it knocks on. And that's the cool thing. So you start making a small change. You change your posture, you smile, you jump up and down, you lift your energy up, and before you know it, you're able to kind of think a little bit differently. Now you look at something, and the question is, how do you package it up? What story are you telling yourself in your mind's ear? What are you seeing in your mind's eye? What is the story that's going on? And is it really about the story? Because it's not. See, our wellness, our level of happiness in life is not what's going on in the world. It's how we're responding to it. Because we all know great stories of people who've been amazingly successful and done wonderful things in the world. And they've gone through such hardship and such pain and such horrors, but they used those things and they grew from them. And we know people who've had far less things happen, and it's just completely overwhelmed them. I had a client, I remember, an amazing client, and she was a psychotherapist, and she referred me quite a few clients. And two clients, one of them was amazing because she had such small things, like little, I described them as like little splinters. And for her, she described them as like open heart surgery. It was like little things that happened. It was like really, really full on things. So she would talk about how her daddy didn't love her enough, and it was really hard growing up because her sister had more attention than her. But the way that she talked about it was a massive thing. And she found it so hard to get beyond this. And another of the clients came from the same person, had so much more going on from the outside, abuse, rapes, just crazy things like from life. And the way that she was dealing with it is, even though those things had happened, she was focusing on what can I do to make my life better, or what can I do to kind of feel better in the world. And that's where she was. So that had happened. But she'd put that in the back of her mind, so to speak. She kind of said, okay, I can't really change it, but I can navigate where I'm going. And this person constantly put the problems in front of her. That's a really interesting thought. Where are your challenges? Are they something that's overwhelming and so big that you can't even see beyond? Or is it like a stepping stone? See, there's a cool saying, like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So what happens is everything, sometimes it can seem overwhelming and too big. But if you chop it down into little pieces, you can have one bite at a time, and then you can make progress. And so that's really important. So this person created a story, and she had this thing that happened in the past, and she put it in front of herself, and she made it so big that she was constantly stuck. Compared to the other person, had something horrifically massive, kept it in the past. Interesting, eh? Cool. So we're going to just go back, read a question from Chloe or a statement. And then what happens is we're going to carry on. Chloe says, I've definitely noticed that anxiety can become very physical. Yeah, totally. And that can become a vicious cycle. Yep. Feeling anxiety, reacting to it physically, then feeling more anxious. Yep. Because of the physical response. Yeah. Do you have any advice on how to react to this type of situation, have more control over that initial physical response? Yeah, great question. This is amazing. Very good question, really well articulated. See, what happens is so many people are anxious about being anxious. I'm not sure if this is you, but it's a good example. See, what happens is maybe they've had a bad experience in the past and they keep replaying it or putting it into the future. So had very successful client, and he was a CEO, and he was in the boardroom, and all of a sudden, one day, out of nowhere, he has his first panic attack. Dun, dun, dun. And what happens for him was horrible. It was like, whoo! Then what happens is he started thinking about, oh, I've got another one. What happens if? And it's the most dangerous thing people do. They go, what happens if I have another one? And he started putting this thought into his future. That's called future planning. So what happens is that although he didn't want the experience, he was putting it into his future, saying, I don't want that to happen, or I hope it doesn't happen. But then as he had that thought, which we'll come up to shortly, he started experiencing tension, and he started going down that process. And so he started fearing the anxiety himself. And a lot of people, it starts off in one area, they can't drive, or because it happens in maybe someone's driving on a bridge and or on the motorway. And so all of a sudden, then they make the rule in their mind, I can't drive on motorways, or I can't drive on bridges, or I can't be in closed rooms. It's really interesting how people kind of link their physical responses to their experience, to the location, and make a statement, I can't do this or that because of it. So what happens is, as you start focusing on the physical symptom, a bit of tension in your body, there's really a few things that can go on. In my book, I tell this story about how I had this client come in, and she had this like lightheaded moment, right? Whoa. And she freaked out, and it was just like, what the hell is wrong with me? So it's just a symptom, right, of lightheadedness. Now, for anyone who's been like low blood sugar, right, or like orthostatic hypertension, where you have low blood pressure and you get up and all of a sudden, woo, you get a bit woozy. And there's many things. It could be like a little like, I was going to say virus, but not like, it's a weird word now. It changes the meaning. But, you could have just had a little virus of the nervous system and have a little moment of lightheadedness. There's so many things that can cause lightheadedness. Anyway, so she just had this symptom of lightheadedness, and she went to her doctor because she was in freak out. Like, what's wrong with me? Have I a stroke? Is there something wrong with my heart? And she would do. And I thought it was interesting when she came in, because like the day before I was going for a walk on my lunch break, and I was walking along just a little bridge, and I just remember kind of getting a little bit lightheaded, right? And I went, woo! And I remember thinking about it, because I went, whoa, I'm on the bridge. This is a weird place to get really lightheaded. So I just made sure that I held the rail and kind of slowed down. And then after a little while, it passed. And to me, in my mind, it was like, whoa, I don't really get like low blood sugar that I'm aware of. How funny. I didn't really think too much of it. It passed, carried on my day, didn't think about it until she comes in. And I remember thinking, how funny. We have the same physical symptom, but we gave it a different meaning. See, if I'm worried about what it could mean, it can amplify. See, if I'm afraid of the symptom itself, that causes more tension. It causes me to get stuck in it. So, for example, with panic attacks, this is easier said than done. So a lot of people who are struggling with panic attack, when all of a sudden what seems like out of nowhere, the symptom comes on, and it's scary. What happens is they go to fight it. They try to control this experience, and the energy builds, which means it amplifies, which instantly causes more tension. And it's like a feedback getting worse and worse and worse. And one of the most powerful things, and I'll give this example, I was working with a client. I've got these imagine chiropractic tables and sort of massage tables. And so someone was on my table and I was working with this client, and all of a sudden you could see her body just go get locked up. So I'm like, what's going on? She goes, oh my God, I'm about to have a panic attack. And I said, good, because that's the perfect place to have it, because I'm here to help her. And I said, just let it get worse. And she was like, what? She says, no. And she started getting more tense. And I said, just allow it to happen. Just amplify it. See what happens. I said, worst can happen is you're going to faint, but you're on the table, so you ain't going to fall anywhere, so you're safe. I said, see what happens. Oh, I can't. And then shortly after, I noticed that her whole body had completely relaxed. I said, what happened? She goes, it's the weirdest thing. I'm at peace. I said, I let it get worse. And it was like it just dissipated. See, what happens is like a dam building pressure. And if you allow it to kind of be released, all of a sudden, the energy will go. So in a lot of areas in our life, doesn't need to have anxiety, but we don't want to have an experience. And we're so fixated on what we don't want. All that happens is we keep blocking it, and it keeps building and getting more and more and more intense. So what happens, the more intense it becomes, the more we don't like it. And the more we don't like it, the more we're kind of stopping ourselves from having the experience. And where do you think we store that tension? In our bodies. And then it just gets to the point where it becomes a physical symptom. And so, the anxiety is very, very physical for so many people. For some people, it's just in their thoughts. For some people, it's real physical. And the thing is, if you allow yourself to experience tension as tension, if you go beneath it, it's just bound energy. And the idea is to ask a new question: how can I begin to release this? How can I allow myself to experience it? Not to kind of go into the gur of it, but to go in the flow of it. I hope that is helpful. It's obviously a massive topic, but I'm trying to give you a whole bunch of different things that you can work with. I'm just going to have a quick read of Adam's question. I agree about eating the elephant one bite at a time, but of course we don't eat elephants. In my experience, it is a lot easier to do 5 things one at a time than it is to try and do 2 things at the same time. Yeah, I've had a bad habit of trying to do later too often. Adam, same. One of the things about me is I get quite lit up by having a whole lot of different projects. That kind of keeps me engaged. It keeps me excited. If I focus on just one project, I can get a little bit bored. But focusing on one project, I'm more productive. Focusing on too many, my energy dissipates. And so I've had to learn a strategy for being able to kind of modulate it. And I'm not great at that yet. I sometimes still have too many things because my brain just kind of sparks that way. And so, great insight. And that's really helpful for other people too. Thank you for sharing. Cool. So here's another real powerful exercise that I really want to share with you guys. This is so life-changing, and it's simple. It really is simple, but so effective. I want you to think of a time in life when something uncomfortable or bad or embarrassing happened to you in your life. And just take a moment to think of it right now. As soon as you think about that memory, notice what happened in your body. As you go to the experience, then your thought of that memory, of that embarrassing thing or that mean thing that someone said to you, notice how you feel in your body. Okay, now what I want you to do is do something completely different. I want you to do this. I want you to think of someone beautiful someone said to you. A fun moment, a first kiss, the first time you had sex, if it was good. First time that you kind of went on a roller coaster, or if it was exciting to you, or some memory that was kind of awesome for you. And what I want you to do is notice as you kind of connect to that memory, notice how you feel instantly. See, all our thoughts are connected to our feeling state. Most of us are completely unaware of this all the time. And so the thoughts that are kind of going through like a stream of consciousness are not ever We're not aware of the effect that that's having on us. And so when you're on your phone and you're flicking through something and you're kind of getting this constant media of like fear, worry, concern, crap, you're constantly going through your brain. It's accessing thoughts. It's changing your focus, or it's directing your focus. And so some people have like social media holidays, and they love it because what happens is it's time to have like, a fresh thinking for a while. And it's not about social media as good or bad. It's just there as what you're kind of connecting into. It's with your own thoughts. Start becoming aware of how your thoughts are connected to your feelings. So right now, what do you want? What is the thing that's most important for you for this time in life, or for coming up for the next couple of months? All that we know is the world potentially is about to go through this massive transformation, and nobody in the whole world knows what it's going to look like. Not one person. But all we have to do is be better at adapting than the version of who we were yesterday. So I can't compare myself. There's no need for me to compare myself to other people. We've all got different gifts and different talents, right? And different strengths. And some of you have these brilliant minds, and some of you may be struggling sometimes because your mind is not that focused. And so you're great at looking at things and going into so much detail, and you've got all this stuff coming, but you're not aware that when I'm focusing my mind, I'm not always using it effectively. And sometimes I'm getting myself caught up, and that is. So we've got a few things focusing on my mind. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. How do you focus your mind? What's the tool to focus your mind? What's the best strategy for focusing your mind? Because most people don't know. So type. But when at school, why aren't we taught these things? Because we're not. We're too busy learning other important things, like, whatever it is that we're learning. It's amazing that we're not taught these things, and very few people know them, because you lived your whole life and you may never really known that sometimes it's just easy to change my status, to move my body. So many people try and change the way they're feeling with their thoughts, and you can, but it's so much harder, especially if you just thought yourself into a crappy place. And so what happens is we don't necessarily want to just be stuck in this bad place. We want to change it. But how? I just, change my body. Now, by the way, some of you may go, okay, I'm going to give this a go. And you may go, next time I'm feeling in a bit of a rough spate or whatever, and I'm stuck in my body, I'm going to move my body. And you've got to change your body like this, and then you'll feel that inner energy, that stuckness, want to kind of pull you back into there, and you go, it didn't work. No. Don't do that. As you lift your energy, the old state may want to take over. Lift your energy again. Sometimes you have to do it really powerful, like make a huge gesture with a lot of intensity. It's got to, think of it like you're breaking the old pattern and replacing it with this new state. So if the old one, if you're in a really stuck state, you need a huge amount of energy. Think of it like you're going to break a karate chop through a board. You need so much energy to get through. And so if you're in this state, you've got to smash through it. And sometimes you have to do it 5, 6, 7 times, which may take 10 seconds. But all of a sudden, you're like, wow, I feel in such a different state. And all it is a decision to change your energy. Okay. Alina, meditation exercise help me focus. Yes, wonderful. It's cool that you can meditate. And when you say help me focus, I'm just curious, where does your focus naturally go into a certain place when you meditate and do exercise? Have you trained your focus to go to a certain places, or does it just kind of happen? I'm curious about. Chloe, I find that listening to music can help me to focus. Yeah, once again, do certain types of music help you focus, and does it focus on what? Does it just take your attention away from whatever distractions are going on in life and bring you to music? By the way, I got a note here. Excuse me. Talk fast, eh? So many people come to me and they're talking about how they've got all this anxiety and all this stress and all these problems going on. And they're saying, and then what happens is I notice that sometimes I'll avoid, I'll just get distracted. I'll avoid the situation by reading and gardening and doing all these other things, and then I'm okay. And I go, whoa, well, those things aren't avoidance or distraction. That's life. That's like when you're reading, when you're gardening, when you're dancing. This isn't a distraction. This is life. Those other thoughts about imaginary scenarios and kind of ridiculous things you're creating in your mind, that's not life. That's an illusion that you're buying into quite often. So it's really interesting how people like replace it. Okie dokie. Is it Hamed? I have to take a nap for 10 minutes to come back to my concentration. Yeah, interesting. A nap. Wonderful when that works. I have a group at the moment where taking people through a process. It's like a membership for next level. It's called Next Level Wellness. It's strategy. It's like what we're talking about, but it's like a high level stuff. And this came up in conversation, this whole idea about a nap, because we're helping about creating and designing strategies for people. And is it a good thing to have a nap and a bad thing? And my answer was it can be great. Be careful, because if you need to use that strategy and you only have access to that strategy to kind of refocus, it can be challenging, because certain times and places where you can't always have a nap. What the nap does for you is on some level it kind of the energies in your body, it kind of like brings them down. So there are other ways that you can bring your energy into like a centered place, like the meditation example, or music or dancing. There's other things you can do. Breathing techniques. There's so many things you could do. The reason why I'm saying this is because if you rely on this strategy, and I'm not saying that you do it, but it can happen, is some people can need and start relying, especially if the situations in life become chaotic and you need to keep going back to the rest, the nap, it can start becoming like the patterns. You kind of go into a lowered energy state, and then you can kind of go into these depressed patterns. I'm not saying you're there. I love power naps, and I love the ability to do it. Just be careful that you don't give that strategy too much power, because it can take you into an interesting place. Alex, for me, it's to talk out loud, mostly to another person. Often saying it out loud helps me to realize they're not often thinking irrationally. Yeah, interesting. Great. That's interesting. I like that. I really do. I can imagine we'd have some fun conversations. Srila? What a cool name. I hope I said it right. I probably didn't. +1 on talking out loud. Okay, +2. Okay, so interesting. A lot of you are finding that talking out loud is really helpful. When we'll come, there's a few more questions, but I want to talk about what's really going on. The best way, and not saying that the others aren't perfect as well, but the way that we really direct our focus all the time, or what's directing our focus, I should say, is unconsciously the questions that we're asking ourselves in our mind. So what are the questions that you're asking ourselves? And most people don't realize that they're asking questions all the time. Why is this happening to me? Why won't this end? How do I get, why do crap things happen to me? Are certain kind of statements that some people will make that will take them to a certain place. Some people are saying, where's the opportunity? How can I make some change now? If you're asking a question in your mind, think of a question like the rudder in a boat, right? So it's going to direct us where we're going based upon the direction of our focus. So if my focus on what's wrong with me or what I do not like about myself, it's different to what do I like or where's my gifts. If you're saying, why don't people like me? Your mind's going to be focusing on different things to what can I do to help people? Is a very different question. So I began my life as someone who pretty much should never have gone to university and definitely should have done 2 degrees. I had challenges with learning. So interestingly enough, part of my journey is I learned different strategies of how to learn. I was a very poor reader before I did a speed reading course, and I knew I was a poor reader. I had this story in my mind that I was not a good reader. And so the question I was always asking is, why am I not good at reading? And so I constantly got the answers. The mind will come up with answers for the questions that you don't even realize that you're asking over and over again. And so I say, why am I a bad reader? I may look at someone and go, wow, they're so good at it. But the real thought beneath it is, why aren't I good at it? And then because I don't comprehend well, and because I'm slow, and because I misunderstand things. And so at the time, I was like, never would have thought, I could be like years later when I'm older, like addicted to the Kindle. But it's interesting. So the questions are really what focus your mind. So start thinking about some of the questions that you guys are asking now in the situation that you're in right now. Nicole wrote, I think the strategies vary from person to person. They do, but what I find helpful to either stretch or just to sit down and write down my thoughts, which helps me to put my thoughts into perspective. Wonderful. Yeah. I guess like you writing your thoughts, other people talking out loud is the same kind of thing. It's like when you can see your thoughts on paper, or when you kind of have them somewhere, if someone's even holding the space for you, or you're doing it too, if there's no one around, and you just push record and you hold it there, what happens is it can kind of act like a feedback, and it just holds it in space somehow. And so many people, when they kind of getting themselves all kind of like caught up, and I'm going here and here in their minds, and this kind of like frenetic and overwhelming, it's because they've got so many things on, I've got so much going on. And you say to them, how many things do you got? They're like, hundreds of things going on. You write them down, and they got to write them down. And there's, there may be sometimes 12, but normally like 5. Do you know what I mean? There's often not that many things. But what happens is there's this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem. And it's not that they're clear. The person in their thinking is they're thinking about this and the possible things that could happen over there, and then this, and if these possibilities, and over here, and these possibilities, and they're thinking about all these different things, and then they're going through them all over the show, and there's no sense of order. So if you just draw out the possibility tree, like a flow chart, and it's locked on paper, all of a sudden it's like, okay, that's what I want to happen. This is where I want to put my focus of all the possibilities. And now I'm going to fixate and hold my attention on there. And it brings you into a sense of like centeredness. And it can be really effective strategy when you've got some decisions, you're not sure what to do, or you've got too many things going on, you just write them down. Another really helpful thing is you've got like hundreds of things, like literally so many things on your to-do list. Just drop them all down on a piece of paper and then group them together based upon the outcomes that you want. And so you may realize you have 15 things to do with, teaching others, tutoring, and kind of helping people, managing people, whatever you're doing. And you may have 6 things to do with family, right? 3 things to do with friends. And you kind of go, I've really only got 3 major things that I'm working on. And that's chunking up. And so rather than the elephant example, when we kind of break it down into small steps, if you've got too many things, the brain works really good, efficiently, with 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information, meaning that you can focus on so many things. So chunk it into groups. Aim for like 5 to 7 groups of things that you can easily focus on. Okay, and that can be really helpful. Thanks, Nicole. Parul. For me, making a schedule of my day helps me to stay focused and motivated. I love it. Schedules are fantastic for some people because they create a sense of order. And some people have that serve them, and some people have that kind of cause them restriction, because what happens is if I'm now forced to live into my schedule and things aren't being fitted and I can't tick things off, for some people that causes this constant, I've constantly got to put things into my list tomorrow and whatever. And so it's the point that I'm making is it's not does any one of these strategies work, is how does it work for you? And as you're doing them, as you're doing your schedule, as you're doing your music, as you're doing whatever you're doing, focusing things in life, it's changing your focus. If you put your focus in a place by doing the schedule, and it gives you a sense of order, then it's changing the way that you feel, a sense of state. And when you're ticking things off, it creates this reward, this feeling for some people, right? It's like, yes, I'm making progress and I'm feeling good. And the reason why I wanted you guys to answer this question, and I want to thank you guys for doing it, is because sometimes just hearing how other people change their focus gives you all of a sudden, in like a small amount of time, like 10 minutes, we've covered all these different strategies which you can try. But the most important thing is, as you're doing it, let's say I'm going to start doing the schedule thing, and or I was going to start talking out loud, it may or may not work for me based upon what question that I'm really asking. See, if I'm saying, oh, why can't I ever get stuff done? Right? Why can't I ever get enough things done? That question, it doesn't matter if I do a schedule or not, I'm not going to be effective, right? If I thought like, the question I was asking in my mind is, how can I be most effective today? Or how can I help the most amount of people today? Those are different questions which change my focus, which actually begin to change my physiology. So I just thought I would share that. Alina, I just think it improves my focus. Although I think meditation takes a lot of practice and my mind will definitely wander. I focus on my breath. Wonderful. Yeah, it does take a lot of time to meditate. I've done it for so long, and it's something that rewards you. The more you do it, the better you get. So I encourage those of you who haven't, go for it. Adam, scheduling is good because I often can't get things done unless I give myself a deadline. However, at times the best way to improve my focus is to walk away from something for a while and look at it with fresh eyes later. Tracy says, I am with you, Adam. Yeah, it's such a powerful thing when you do it, because what happens is we get so caught up in our experience. So on that note, when someone is stuck in a problem, if any of you guys are stuck in a problem right now, you can use this as your example. When you're really consumed with something and it's in your mind and you can't break out of it, and you just, it's in your experience and you're like, ugh, what do you do? And for so many people, when you think of the problem, it really comes down to a visual picture that you're seeing, a scenario. It's either going to be a picture, a still, or it's going to be a bit of a movie or a series of pictures in your mind's eye when you're thinking about it. Now, a lot of people say, I'm not a visual person. What color is your car? Where is your car parked? If you have a car, where do you go to? Where's your computer? You're in front of it right now. Where's the fridge? So in your mind, you know how to do those things. You know how to kind of like, where's going to go to the bathroom? You can create a visual picture all the time. So people say they're not visual, but they are. They just don't realize it. So in your mind, you'll be creating these visual pictures of scenarios. And so often what happens is the picture is either really close to you and really big, and it becomes really overwhelming. And so all you need to do is, let's say you've got someone like just giving you, just about to say, you've done a really bad job, and you're so worried that someone's going to say that to you, and that experience is right there in front of you. And often when people are really overwhelmed, it's because the picture is so big and so close to their face. They don't even realize they're even seeing pictures. And it simply is taking the picture, the image that you're creating anyway, and pull it further out, gives you a bit of space. And it's like, as you do this, so those of you do it, just notice how you feel. So let's do that as an example. Everyone just see someone who's a family friend, right? Who they haven't seen for a while because of lockdown, or, you know, and someone you're just really looking forward to giving you a hug, right? Just someone you're really looking forward to seeing and hanging out with in whatever context that is. And just see that person, right? And then notice that picture that you're creating of the person, and then just take that picture, right? And then just make it bigger. And notice how you feel when you make that picture bigger, and then make it bigger again, and then make it bigger again. And notice as you make it bigger, how you feel. And then go back to the original size, and then make it smaller and smaller and smaller. And notice how that changes the way you feel. And most people notice, and everyone's different, but most people notice as that picture gets bigger, it becomes more intense. So when it's a nice experience, like seeing someone like run and giving a big hug, and you make that a big picture, it feels different to if, if it's just a small little picture of people having a hug and it's black and white. But if it's bright colors and that's kind of how the brain's working all the time without us realizing. Tracy says, I have plans but need to refresh with working from a home shower helps. Yeah, I had a client the other day, and he was in a really just bad place. It's like he's gone into lockdown and he's realized it's been happening for on and off with his partner for a long time, but they realized it's just they can't actually be together. They're both too toxic for each other. And it was like literally had this insight like just as the beginning. So they're doing their best to isolate themselves from each other in the house, being isolated from everyone else. And they got two young kids, so it's impossible. And he was in such a state, and he was getting caught up and really hurting from it and didn't know what to do. And he was just, his focus was the situation. The story was that he was trapped, and just feeling more and more and this tension more and more. And I'm like, go have a cold shower and go for a run or go for a walk, but make sure you have the cold shower first. He goes, why? This is do it and you'll figure it out. He goes, why? I said, just do it. He did it. He goes, I get why. It changes things so much. Okay, so we've done really well. We're at like 15 minutes now. Does anyone have any questions for me before we kind of go? Now would be a great time to ask. The main things that I really wanted to give you some real simple strategies. Please, 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 please. They're simple. And because they're simple and you can learn them straight away, it doesn't mean they're not massively effective. It's the simple things that make the biggest difference. For example, a simple thing that you do every day we don't think about is breathing. Stop that for a while. You realize how important it is. So simple things can be massively transformational. The questions that you're asking, which you don't realize you're asking, get a pen and paper and start thinking about when you're in a certain state, when you're kind of not sure what's going on or where you want to be, kind of what is the thought process that's kind of guiding you to here? Are you thinking about the situation right now? How can I make the most out of this time? It's very different to kind of saying, oh, how long until everything goes back to normal? So just start becoming aware of your question. Start becoming aware and do daily checks in your body. Notice how you're holding yourself. Change your body. See, when we talked about it first, probably some of you would have readjusted your body and got to this great state, and you realize you're back into an old pattern. We're going to keep going into those old patterns until we, by force, decide to be in this new pattern. It has to be conscious choice and willpower. Lindsay, I have a really hard time settling down and finding a focus because things are so uncertain. Thank you. Uncertainty and certainty, and this is a huge part of today. And we've talked about all the necessary ingredients to kind of bring it all together. What is certainty and what is uncertainty, and why do we crave it? We crave certainty because our nervous system needs a sense of certainty for us to feel safe in the world. So it's everywhere and it's nowhere. What happens is, if we think we can know how things are going to be before they've happened, and we can know it's going to be, well, I can relax. If I'm not sure, there's too much instability or uncertainty, I'm not sure what's going to happen, there's more fear, there's more danger. The brain is naturally first a survival mechanism. It cares more about your survival than your happiness. So what happens is this going to be dangerous? Now, in the past, it may have been woolly mammoth. Now it could be like an angry boss, or it could be a friend who just kind of disapproves, or it could be a social situation which is uncomfortable, or it could be not having a job, or not having a place to kind of work, or a student who gets angry. There's so many different places. There's so much potential uncertainty. And often in our mind, there's more uncertainty than where it is. And what happens is when you start craving certainty, generally what happens is people look for the areas in life that are uncertain and try to control the uncertain areas. And that causes people so much pain. I like to think of it like a chess set. You've got the white and the black squares. In life, there are things that are certain and there are things that are uncertain. And we need both for life to be wonderful. If everything in life was certain and you knew everything 100% of the time, how would it be? If you had 100% certainty in things in life, how would life be? Now, most people who have a high need for certainty say, oh my God, that would be amazing. It's what I want. And then they think a little bit deeper and they go, actually, life would get a little bit boring. Because if you knew exactly how things are going to be before they happened, where would the magic, with the mystery, what would be the point of watching a movie? What would be the point of going somewhere new or trying something new? Because if you already knew what was going to happen before it happened, life would just kind of get dull real quick. Think of the first kiss, the moment before it happened. Whoa, just before it happened, there was massive instability. So you need a certain amount of instability, uncertainty to become alive. And so what happens is that's when magic in life happens. But it's too much uncertainty and not enough strategies. We can feel like everything's going to go into breakdown, and that's what we don't want. So we have to have a nice balance of certainty and uncertainty. So the biggest challenge is people are constantly looking for the uncertainty in their mind. It's like that could be the dangerous zones. And how do I change it and control those things? You can't control those things, so don't try. The things that are uncertain, maybe they're meant to be uncertain, like the white and the black squares. Let the uncertainty be the uncertainty. Let the certainty be the certainty. Certainty that I always have, and that's two things that give me the most amount of certainty in my life that I use. Because in life, when there's more uncertainty in the outside world around us, we have to do more to kind of build up the certainty within us, okay? Or not so much build up, we just have to see that it's already there. So for example, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, what's happening, how it's going to look. So I let that be the uncertainty. And so I'm focusing on where there's certainty. So when I sit down on my chair, I didn't for a moment hesitate to all of a sudden think that was just going to kind of collapse. When I stand up and walk, if I'm like on a 2-story or 3-story building, I don't think the floor is just going to give away. There's so much certainty. When I'm driving along the car, there's a level of uncertainty if people are going to stick in the same lane. But I just kind of trust that that's kind of what's going to happen. And I'm a little bit cautious because there's a higher level of uncertainty on the road than there is with walking on the floor. But it's still pretty certain. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've done it most of your life. People generally know, most people follow the rules. And so there's always a level of uncertainty in everything. Even with walking, every now and then you hear crazy stories of someone's floor gives way or the steps break or something. There's so much out there. But majority of the time, there's a level of certainty. And so most of the time, I just know, like, I know this is solid. I know this is solid. I know if I pinch, I won't, it hurts. So there's so much certainty. So look for where there is. There's two ways of looking. There's external and internal. External, you look around space. It's like, this is the same. This is hard, this thing. Internal. And here's the two that I use, which now, because of this webinar today, you know, and these are so effective and so powerful. I know that if I want to change my state, I move my body. I know if I want to go to angry, this always produces anger. I know if I want to go to a state of more contentment, I hold my body, move my body into a more content state. I know if I always do that, it's always going to produce the same thing. Just like when you open a Coke, you know, a bottle, that sound, right? It's always the same, unless someone's opened and it's flat. That's unfair. Right? But there's the sense of, like, it always happens when I hold my body into a certain state, it feels a certain way. Always. So if I want to be more passionate or like change the way I feel and lift my energy out, it always happens. It's not like all of a sudden one day I do this and that makes me feel depressed. It's always the same. So I have a lot of certainty in that I can change my state, my internal world. And the other thing that I focus on is on my focus. I know I change my state and change my focus. Those two things will completely transform my life massively. And so how do I do that? I become conscious of the question I'm asking, and then I focus it. And then the question is more important than the answer that you get. The question is more important than the answer that you get because it's directing you, it's taking you to a place. Would you rather be in a good place but going in a bad direction, or a bad place and moving in a good direction? I know I would rather be moving in a good direction because it's only a matter of time that I'll be in there. And then what I'd rather more than that is being in a good place and moving to even better place, and just having that in this constant experience. Good, getting better, better, being greater. greater being more excellent. Okay, cool. So I hope that helps with the certainty, uncertainty thing. Those things are cool. Let the chess set, let the white squares be white squares, let the black, there's so much uncertainty in the world. Let it be like it is, but have more certainty in yourself. Have more certainty that you can control your own state, that you control your own feelings, that you have some skills that sadly it takes you in the top like 1% of the population. Very few people know these such simple things, and when we've explained them like this so simply, it's like yeah, everyone knows it. They don't. Trust me, few people know that you can just change the way that you feel by moving your body, or that you're secretly what's really changing your world is the questions that you didn't even realize that you're asking. And so now you have the ability to start using this in your life, but it's like a skill that you need to develop. So make a commitment today, and I hope all of you do, just for 21 days, because that's how long it takes to create a new habit. Each day, wake up and ask an empowering question. There's so many. Don't overthink it, but make sure you state it as in the positive, as if you're claiming something. So how can I express more courage today? Now, if you ask that question just for 21 days, remember, just keep asking the question. The mind will come up with answers. May not happen straight away. Expect an answer. May not happen straight away, but it'll slowly bring information to you. If every day you said, how can I express more courage? Wow. So many people wake up and go, like an anxious person, I'll wake up. Is my anxiety still there? Oh, yeah. Is my stress still there? What do I have to do today? And so the question of starting the day, the question, the tone, the energy of it is just taking it to such a place. So start your day, have some point of the day where you ask an empowering question. And that's my suggestion. Every day, make sure 2 times a day, maybe put an alarm on your phone just to completely change your state. So I hope this has been helpful for every single one of you. Thanks, everyone. You guys, I love the way that you participated. Use these tools. They are so powerful. They really are. They're simple, but they are so powerful. You guys are wonderful. Have an amazing night or morning, wherever it is. I think it's for most of you, it's nighttime. So having a wonderful night, and ask some great questions before you go to bed. Move your body as this ends. Jump up and down, get the energy going, and just feel good that you can make some changes. Hopefully, we'll meet some of you soon. Okay, bye, everyone.